do something significant, okay? The real estate market, that was the focus of the great financial crisis. The dot-com bubble was tech focused, like we are now, and it was stock focused, right? Like we are now. So this is what we can look to based off history. There's another side to this though, and this functions as they support each other. Give you all the more stability, all the more confidence in this sort of thing, right? That you can look towards this. There's the time aspect, there's also the percentage. I told you guys that this went down by 83%. Let me show you something a little eerie first. It was this day. This day right here, the lowest point during the first come down, so to speak. It was oh wait, sorry, I'm wrong about that. Hold on a second. Wrong bubble. Hold on a second. Okay, there it is. 524. Okay, 524. That was that day where it was like the lowest point of the. It's something to do with the Dow theory. It's lower highs and lower lows. So what this was, this peak here, so to speak, in terms of technical analysis, that was the lower high, and then we found a lower low here, and it's an even lower low there. That's the confirmation of Dow theory. So we know that this is really happening right now. 524. Okay, on that day right here, I'm going to show you what we're looking at right now for ourselves. It's going to look very familiar. Keep in mind what it looked like, what I was just showing you, the top of the dot-com bubble, right? This sort of shape to it. Look familiar to anyone? Guess what day it is? 2/24. 3 months earlier. On the same fucking day. Yeah, just something a little eerie, but it's not surprising. Context. There is something very, very sick and strange going on. People who are extremely wealthy, extremely intelligent, with the resources that they have, the combination of their minds, the people that they have to back them, the scientists and all that jazz, and the ability to communicate, to organize. They have every incentive and every ability. That's happening. That's a reality. And it's strange. We don't like to think of that. Because no, things cannot be that horribly evil and corrupt. Fun fact, I'm also the president of the Student Activism Club. We talk about that sort of shit all day. In any case, though, we can be aware. We have the technology, we have the internet ourselves, and we can collaborate among our minds as well. And we can come to some pretty good sort of ideas. Based off of the timing for all this. Really significant top, right? Whole long duration period. Whole long duration, big top, same exact day, all that sort of jazz, same thing. 2/24, 3 months off. So what happened between the IWM and the Qs, which is what we're most similar to during the dot-com bubble, what they did was 2 years and 7 months to the day, effectively. So what we can look to for this is the historically analyzed prediction for the top of the second bump, 417. That has to do with something else. I'll get into that in a second. Let's see here. Based on last true top to the actual bottom of the under indices for the dot-com crash, the bottom for this crash, oh gee. There it is. The bottom for this crash will be sometime in the middle of 2024, June 8th. That was just based off the time for, I believe, the IWM, and I gave the different times as well for, August 4th and stuff like that. Anyway, so, what is this part of? I don't even know. It's fine. Anyways. Okay. There's a reason why I was showing you that, though. Okay, that's what it is. This has to do, okay. So, there's a great deal of opportunity to make money off of the crash that's happening. They're called inverse leverage ETFs, or just normal leverage, depending on what your preference is. I'm kind of going balls to the wall. I feel very confident in what's happening. Makes a lot of sense in my mind. But that's just me. We can get to that into a bit. I kind of wanted to just stick to the card right now. So we can have a discussion about this afterward, and another day we can talk about these as well. We have time. That's the other thing. We have time. 4/17, that's going to be the day that, based off history, about, there's that sort of thing. And we can also, technical analysis. We can get into discussions about that.
So you think there's going to be a second bump, 4/17 of this year is your prediction?
Yeah, and what happened was that during the other indices during the dot-com crash, was that they all had this sort of, so I can just like literally show you what it looks like. Again, uno momento. I know what you're talking about. Command. Okay, there it is. What it looked like was this. There was, for the S&P 500, this was during the time context where it was not so tech heavy. So we rely on, well, what was the Qs doing? Because that was tech heavy the whole time. What happened was that really just what you're seeing. And the only other alternative was that this third bump here would be lower, right? So if you want to get in on this sort of like opportunity and make money off of like one of the largest stock crashes of all time, you would want to ideally go for this one. Because either it's going to be this one, or it's going to be the same, if it happens to be the same thing and it's going to do the same thing.
You're just talking about like support levels basically as it drops.
Yeah, this is more,
or like a lack of support level, like a decrease in support.
what I'm trying to point to, like I'm sure you have let's see if I can map on here. The point about this is that if we're wrong that this is not like the best moment or some shit like that, what happens is this right here, which is basically the same. It's effectively like minimal risk. Versus if we were to not go in here and it's like we're right about saying like, oh no, like it was the top but we didn't go for it. The only other alternative history wise is that it's going to be lower. The point is that this, statistically speaking, is the best time to be getting in based off of what's happened before and the risk to reward ratio, so to speak. That's really it, actually. So yeah, like it's like technically a little higher or something like that, but it's like it doesn't matter. Like you might as well just get in right now because you could be wrong and like the third bump could be like a little lower. Anyways, you guys know the point. It's being redundant now. Did that make sense? Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So I showed you guys the math, and it was kind of ridiculous, but we were looking at like 0.3, half of what it was before, during like a good decade, so to speak. But there's nothing to say that we can't like do just as well there as well. This was a one-time of $5,000. I'm going to put that to you to let your imagination run. You can do the math for yourself later on about like what happens if I did this, what happens if I did that, and use something conservative. Whether you want to do 0.3 or 0.4, I feel like it's more on the conservative end, more reasonable, right? As sort of like a base. Could it be just the same, right? 0.6, right? Maybe very well. We don't quite know. Technology's getting better and better. And on top of that, that was a baseline, so to speak, because there's other ones that are going to be doing better. Bedrock. Once again, it gets better. I have that on here too. HIDL, SOXL, FNGU. SOXL did instead of 0.6, it was, or like 60%, it was 70. It was 70%. And we can talk about the other ones later, about how that sort of like mathematical situation like worked out. That's not happening. All right. So let's try to, before we go here, okay. So I showed you guys that. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's focus back on here.
I got that. I'll let things for the info.
Okay.
Back to the image. We can text later today.
Yeah, no, totally. And again, get into the group chat. You already are.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you'll see the rest of this video, and you know, the YouTube channel as well. I'll try to like chunk it up so that we can look at like, here's like this part of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that it's not just like.
One thing I was wondering too, could you maybe put together like a list of some of the resources that you went to? Because you were saying you talked to like MLOs and specific people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I kind of was looking towards because I'm actually looking to get a mortgage. So that'd be like the kind of people I need to talk to as well. That would be kind of helpful.
Definitely. Yeah, that's pretty easy. Really quickly, just for you, make sure that like if you're starting to look for one right now, get a pre-approval letter.
Okay.
Make sure you do that like now, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, like those resources, like don't try. It's hard to say. This is sort of the discussion we need to have because it's like profit right now versus later, and then you look at the math, and it's like, well, if I were to do shit now, I would be starting out with $20,000 every single year versus like if I just wait a little bit, it'd be like $30,000 a year. And also, what are your costs to live? This is more personal. How much is it going to cost for you to just like live your lifestyle and stuff like that? Because there's different maths and like, well, what did this and then I did over there, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah. We'll get into that discussion later.
Yeah,
But yeah.
good.
All right. Thanks, Boris.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, this is the next part. Get a pre-approval letter at the start of looking for a home. You can just go to just any like lender for like a home mortgage, any bank, just be like, I want that pre-approval letter, and then they'll get you set up. And house hacking, and there's that. Okay. Realtor.com. My mom's is a real estate agent, like I said. That is a fantastic resource to use. That's what she relies on. That is probably I've looked at Zillow, and I've looked at Trulia and stuff like that, and those ones just don't compare. So realtor.com, fantastic. REALTOR.com. I've misspelled that myself before. My mom's a real estate agent. Okay, now we're gonna start talking about credit. This is the section on credit. So right now my credit score is 730. What is your guys's?
620.
All right, not bad, good. Yeah, Casey? 720? Good shit.
I literally just paid off the rest of my watch, so we got to that.
Good stuff. So there's a few points to talk about this one. Credit utilization is kind of a big factor. What that means is that so for me, I have $1,000 credit limit, right? I have $1,000 to be able to use. I will never go above $300 for that allotment. Don't do that. If you do, it will hurt you or hold you back. Be below that, live within your means, and your credit score will be improved. There's a number of different things that you can do. You can look online. There's so many different things that you can do to be able to boost your credit score. Right now even, there's I think it was Experian was saying if you guys have utility bills and shit like that, you just put it to them and instantly bump up your score. By a good factor. Nothing beats just consistent payments. And then here's another hack as well. You get, for me at least, and this is I'm presuming is pretty general for people, you get a month between it's called your, oh god, the name eludes my mind, but effectively here's this month to be able to pay off your debt. We're gonna give you a grace period now of at least 21 days. You got at least 21 days to pay it off and shit like that. Hack for this one, pay off your credit card debt once every 3 weeks. You can literally never be late. Never again. Just set a reminder. That's what I do. Somehow on your phone, put on the refrigerator, staple it to your forehead. I don't know. You do what you want. Okay. Really quickly about So again, these the higher credit score is, the better it is, the more accessible it is for the different programs they have out there. It gets better, that sort of thing. It's very important to keep mindfulness to that sort of thing. Credit matters. Okay, so so the situation with how you want to go about this sort of exact methodology, you cannot beat even with this sort of stuff. You're not going to be able to beat this, right? $2,400 equals ideally $28,800 a year. This is again based on when am I getting my properties? The math is complicated because there's a lot of factors involved and there's a lot of years to account for. And each one of them has their own sort of thing drawn out. But from the math I was doing though, what is probably the safest bet, and again, it's particular to, there's unknowns in this. This is why it was getting incomplete. How much is it going to take for you to live your lifestyle, right? What do you want to do? Because here's the thing: if you get your house right now, you get your houses right now, and you're well, there it is. I'm not paying rent anymore, and I get well, it depends obviously again, but I'm getting it right now. Remember how I said earlier that the more you have up front right now to be able to use and have compound, the better later on, right? This can be a problem situation because if you use it all up, then you have nothing to compound, right? I can get $20,000 right now. Oops, I used all of it. I got zero. That's it, right? Instead, if you were to wait, you'd have an extra $10,000 to spend. Your lifestyle is $20,000, you got $10,000 left over, being frugal and all that jazz, and let it compound. Remember, we were looking at $5,000 over 20 years. Okay, people retire in their 60s, not in their like 71. That's like the late stage. You're gonna have a lot of money. That's the point. People, there's like stuff that I've looked at. It's like you need like $1.3 million to like retire, like like normally or something like that. Probably something more accurate is like make sure that you have like 80% or 75% of like your yearly income when you retire, when you're not working anymore, like coming to you every single year, or that you can use. Like you have a slush fund that you can use, that sort of thing. Regardless though, like just don't even worry about it. Anyways, so that was that point. What am I doing here? Oh, okay. So there's the point about this one. So when you're looking for your second, I tried so hard and so failed. Okay, FHA home, okay? Something that you need to keep in mind is that you cannot live right next door to yourself. You can't do that one. Your second home, and also you have to live here, each one, for 1 year. Not that bad, right? Just 1 year. This has to be your primary residence. You have to actually like live there, or get your mail there, and maybe someone like a friend like sends you your mail. You know what I mean? Like there's hacks around that one too. But point being, so like you can just do that. And no one's like checking up on you or anything like that either. So it's like, But anyway, so your second FHA home has to be 60 miles away at least. Away from the original FHA home. That is what a lender told me. The loan officer that I spoke to. My mom, who's not a loan officer, said like 300. So talk to someone and ask them, how far away does it need to be? Because I've heard 60 miles away. It has to be like you couldn't reasonably get to your place of work from your work. That's specifically what it is. Not your home. Not your home. That's what it is. Actually from your work. That's what it is. Anyways. So there's just that part to like keep in mind. You want to get both loans. I say this on here as well. Multiple times, you get to use the Chino Funds Community Seconds. Get both of them with them, at least. And again, you might be able to do better again. Bedrock. Once again, bedrock. Shop around countrywide for all of this. Look around the country. Be open to living somewhere else for a little bit. For a year, if that, right? If you're getting a friend to send you your mail. There's another resource that's really, really good. It's called the HUD. Again, their number's on here, so if you don't know, if you haven't gone this, you just ask for it. It's like it's on there. They have those, calling the HUD will let you get in contact with the organizations and programs that are specific to where you're trying to be. And they have a bunch of different like grants. You can take like a homeowners like education course. You know what I mean? It's like for like 8 hours, something like that. I was just like talking to someone. It's like 8 hours, and you get like this like a few $1,000s like grant or something like that. It's like $2,500. That's what it was. That's crazy. It's just like free money. That's it. And then the point about this is that once we're done with that, then you have those leverage ETFs you want to go into. You can go into those, use them. And now we're going to start talking about the time. So really quickly, because I kind of already said this too, it took about 2.5 years for it to crash, the dot-com bubble. That's one part of it. It crashed 83%. So here's kind of the point. You want to look to both. They support both of them. Things can vary. It's not necessitated that it falls the same. It's just sort of likely. Time, the economy, the situations. If a world war breaks out, right, then maybe be a little more cautious in terms of like your waiting period. Maybe you wait a little longer. Regardless, so you have two things to support you. Two things to support each other, okay? You have the time, 2.5 years. It's going to be about June-ish, middle of 2024 on that time period. And then the percentage, if you want to be conservative about it, you can look for like a 75% crash in like the Qs or the S&P 500, thereabouts. You know, you want to be a little more conservative about it. Maybe you wait 70% or something like that. Again, what happened last was an 83% crash. We are in a bubble that is bigger or tantamount to that one, right? That's sort of the point about that. And you can be even like safer about it. You can say like, wow, you know, it's so to speak, it's sort of like to give a hypothetical. It's like it's been 2.5 years and it's only gone down by like 65% at this point. All right. Maybe I start putting it in. You do not do this all at once. It's something I've had to learn the hard way. Don't do this all at once. You want to chunk it up. Like over the next like few months, 6 months, a year even. Just put it in slowly, that sort of thing. If you start seeing it like rising and like news seems good, feel a little more confident about it. But that's about it. Okay, yeah, mind bubbles. Those resources, mind them. They're on this piece of paper too. Mind them. When they happen long term, looking at the long term. Hold these obviously long term as well. Hold them as long as you can, because when you do hold them, right, there's compounding that's going on. So try to take away from it as little as possible and decide what you want to like really do with it. Again, this is sort of like up to you. It's a personal question. You know, do you want to like just let this compound and then like give it to your kids, or do you want to just like, you know, utilize it now, or maybe over time give it to charities? This is up to you for you to decide for yourself. But simply put, hold them long term. Don't be so keen on like selling them constantly, because you want to let them compound. And of course, massively bad news. If another pandemic breaks out, guess what you're doing? Not that shit. There's a chart up there. You guys know what I'm talking about.
I gotta take off here, Jacob.
Yeah. All right. All right.
This will be up later, right?
Huh?
The recording?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be posting it to. It'll be on the YouTube channel, and I'll post that to the group chat, and you can see what you missed. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make sure to watch it.
All right.
Sorry,
Cool.
we started late because of us. Thank you.
No, don't worry about it. Thanks. I think 4 is stole my pencil, that bastard. Oh, no, it's right there. Okay, good shit.
Where are we meeting for Philosophy Club tomorrow?
It's the same place, the Redwood Bullet 4.
Okay,
Yeah. Yep.
gotcha.
Yeah. Did you vote already?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. See you then.
Have a good one, Jacob.
All right. Great guy, that guy. I like to talk like shit behind people's backs, but it's like really inspiring and beautiful stuff. Like there's such like a freaking amazing person. God damn it, I love them. Don't tell them I said that though. Okay? So a few perspectives here. Retiring bets. Again, it's like if you do this like I would argue again, when we were looking at this was what this was presuming was, I guess into like the math and stuff like that, but I'll spare you. What this gets into though is the long-term chart that I showed you, where it was like, based on what we were just seeing there, it was like, oh, there's gonna be like a 30% decline. Remind you though, that it's based off of like the situation with inflation and the prices of homes. Inflation is very high right now. That means that it could crash even further. The bedrock there for that situation was 30%, right? It could crash even further. Maybe houses crash by 40, maybe 45, 50. You know what I mean? That's actually possible. We don't quite know. But it could be worse than 30%. That's kind of the point. So worst case scenario, another bedrock, right, is that you're getting basically $29,000 per year, living off of that. You want to be single, no kids. If you got a spouse, fantastic, you guys are richer, but no kids. Hold it off as long as possible. I wish I had made this sort of more honest point to my first girlfriend in high school. I didn't, anyways. She wanted a kid right out of high school. She wanted a kid immediately. This girl, love her to death, God bless you, Mary, but she had some issues. She had some eating disorder issues. She was emotionally unstable and stuff like that. She wanted to bring in a whole nother human being into existence. The responsibility of that is massive. Massive. You need to be prepared as much as possible. If you fear that you're not good enough, keep pushing yourself. Keep pushing yourself. But just love the shit out of the child and realize that you do have the ability to be a good parent. But make sure you keep that in mind and make sure that you are pushing yourself to the resources that are available for you to be able to bring that child into a stable place and continuously thereon, once they are brought into being, they're in a good home. So make sure you got your shit figured out mathematically.
Yeah.
$150 a week in groceries. Now, of course, this is for like a person, you know, just one person. I'm living off of 100 right now. I could do that anyways. I'm cheating a little bit. That's not a point though. You can do that. That's sort of the point. It's just that it's possible. Not having high interest debt. No, that was someone else. Do you guys have like do you guys have like a lot of like credit card debt?
I was just checking my maxed out credit card right now to see if I can get a hotel room thing. Yeah, I have $3,000 credit limit, and it's like
Yeah.
always right up there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Make sure, into the
Yeah,
future,
not
future
good.
reference, Don't ever like max out your credit cards. Don't ever go over 30% or anything like that as much as you can, and pay that off as soon as you can, because the interest rates on that are stupid. They're stupid. Don't fuck with them like that.
Or like people owe me like 15 grand, which is part of like why I was like, oh, I'll just like get a credit card to like get me by until they pay me, and of course I'm like, they're never gonna pay me, like whatever, like no, wait around for other people to pay me.
Yeah,
And, gotta just knock that down, but I don't think I'm gonna do that at grocery outlet either. Like I have no idea how I'm gonna do this, but
yeah.
figure it out.
There's. I was wanting to devote another day as well to like side hustles and stuff like that
Yeah.
you like look to.
I have an LLC, which might
Yeah.
have just, I'm like, that could have just been a waste of money, but like, there's people who paint, like, I have side gigs, like, I was thinking, like, handyman type thing, like, there's ways, but
Yeah.
I would love, like, business advice, whatever. Like,
Funny enough, we actually get into LLCs. They're actually very useful for your rental properties.
ooh,
Yeah.
nice.
Living in a cheap state. Again, if you want to have, you have to live in these places for 1 year. So after that amount of time, you want to use the DSCR loan to get a house for yourself. Again, we were looking at like, it's 15% that you can get like down payment wise. Usually though, for that like third property at that point, it will not be like that. You don't want to fuck with those sort of conventional loans. They will screw you. They're screwing the American people right now. So just use the DSCR loan. And again, like you can still like rent out the place to some extent, and then like cover your mortgage and shit like that, and just like live mortgage free in Louisiana or Missouri or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Just some place like that's cheap. Those places are really cheap though. So,
Yeah.
and then just being frugal overall. And there's some strategies and stuff like that. We'll devote another day to that as well, like all these sort of like financial life hacks, stuff like that. Make sure your tenants are covering utilities on top of that. If you get a house for you after the 2 houses, because you have to live in both of them for a year, use the DSCR loan. Get a rental realtor, we talked about that. Property inspection, this is part of the cost of the $1,200. Whenever you're like serious about like a property, get a property inspection done. They cost about $500 at like tops, that sort of thing. That's a part of the whole $1,200. So don't worry, it's like not over above. Closing attorneys, that'll be a situation that you have to figure out for yourself. But of course, you have people there, your loan officer, your real estate agent, to help you with that sort of situation. But you'll want closing attorneys. And then a rental property management group. So as per my mom's experience, $250 per tenant. There's an important point about this though. And mind you, this isn't like calculated into this. So this is like a part of it, but you can figure out ways to go around this sort of thing. Like you cover like your sort of place, and then you get like going over into like that place, stuff like that. Like it's just sort of like you're not working anymore, right? You're living off of that, so to speak. So you'd have the time, but this is sort of like an opportunity at the very least. $250 per person. You have for every property, 4 people, so it's $1,000 per year. That's it, per year. The reason why is because your rental agreements will last for a year. Remember that I said go to college towns. Go to college towns. Not only just because like who are you renting to? Students. They're committed. They're not going to get up in the middle of the night and then run away and like, oh fuck me, I didn't get paid. That's not going to happen for your students, right? And then of course you can have like connections to like their university, right? So there's stability and reliability there. And of course again, they're students, so they'll be there for like multiple years, that sort of thing. 1 year rental agreements, not that bad. Those would be probably most ideal. And of course as well, like if you find yourself being like, oh wait, like there's a lot of demand for rental properties and people like, I'm getting so much interest in my property, maybe I can make that 2 years and save myself $1,000 a year, sort of thing. See college town, 1 year rental agreements, plus rent insurance. That is something for you to look into. You can go to like just different banks and try to figure out a situation of like rent insurance, just to make sure that like you get paid, like if something happens and like, oh, it's gone. It's kind of health insurance, right? In case something happens, sort of thing. But it's something to look into. Something to look into for sure. Background and credit checks. Think about like when you're trying to rent and like all the things that are asked of you. Do that for your renters. make sure that you're doing background checks and be like, hey, I need $10 for that. Give me $10. Right. And the credit checks. Okay, a little bit into, okay, so I'm gonna fly through this sort of stuff. A lot here, but it's all very, very important. So the first one, struggle meals. Right out here. Struggle meals on YouTube. Let's try to look at this. They teach you how to do a lot with a little bit, and very, very cheaply at that.
With the camera over there.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing. There we go.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate that. Let's look at like some like. It's a classic.
No fees or minimums and no overdraft fees are another reason banking with Capital One is an even easier decision than this.
I'll take Barclay.
Yes! Yep, even easier than that. What's in your wallet?
I kind of want to see really quickly like what he uses and
Tradition, beef stroganoff. And if you think this dish is old news, you're wrong, because we've updated it to birth in the struggle meals. When I think of classic vintage delicious for this switch gear, to get a really break up this equals sugar. Just, make sure our air let so off that I'm still.
It's like cooking opportunities. Anyways.
Dude, my dad does stuff like that. That was so good.
Alright. That was just an example.
Yeah, right now it's like I don't have cooking, so that's I'm throwing away so much more money, not having to buy having to buy prepared food because I got a little camp stove, but I don't generally cook because I live in my truck.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah,
I know I'm throwing
it's
away a lot of money in that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's very significant. The amount of money that you can save just by like cooking at home, and resources like that are very useful for that sort of thing. Being frugal. What is this called? Okay, so there's that. Bigger Pockets. Bigger Pockets is an online forum for financial insight. A bunch of people, it's like Reddit, but like specifically about like financial stuff. So look into Bigger Pockets. It's good. I've heard good things about them. Canceling PMI. This is important. This one's actually kind of important. Canceling PMI, rolling costs into monthly payments. Now, what is PMI? Private mortgage insurance. This shit is bullshit. Okay? What this is for is that, oh my gosh, I can't like make my monthly payments now. And the people who like, hey, but wait a second, you were supposed to be like paying your mortgages. We're not gonna get our money. We're gonna charge you to make sure that we like, in case something happens basically, but we're charging you, that sort of thing. Like you're paying for that. It's funny though, they apparently it gets into like corruption and shit like that. We're getting gouged. Anyways, the point about this though, and this can run you a bit of money as time goes on. You can cancel this, however. You can cancel this. You can cancel it once you have paid down 20% of the principal amount. Okay, so let's say your loan amount is $100,000. You now owe, principal-wise, $80,000, right? What do here? You cancel your PMI. Go to the person, like whoever like serviced your loan, right? Whoever gave you your home loan, or like the bank who helped you like figure out your FHA loan. And FHA has like their own version of this too, so you can cancel them as well. Cancel it as soon as you can, and it doesn't like cost you anything, or if it does, it's like a really small fee. But it'll save you like a lot of money over time. And what you want to do with this as well is, oh no, that's exactly what happens. Yeah, no, of course. Okay, there is actually a bit of a cost with this one. It's worth it though, because you can look at like, well, how much money would I like lose if I just like kept paying it versus if I just like replaced it with this other thing that's like a lot lower. Say it's much more cheaper. It's much more cheap. Rolling the cost, you have to make sure that you're rolling the cost into monthly payments. The reason why is not only just because it's easier then to like compare, like, wait a second, my total cost like went down, but also because again, More upfront is less over time because you weren't able to use that money, right, to be able to like have it compound, right? Makes sense? We're all on the same page? Okay, cool. 1031 exchanges. This is for when you sell a home. When you sell a home, there are taxes, capital gains taxes. You want to make sure that when you sell that home, that you can use this to buy another home. However, it has to be within a certain amount of time. So it's something to look into. Called 1031 exchange, though. Seller financing is as well something that I came across and seemed like a good idea. It's something you'd have to like look into in terms of like when you're like, I want this property, what are my options here? Going to the seller themselves and being like, would you finance my own loan? And sometimes you can get better than what you would get for like, so for example, like a DSCR loan. Like, you're not gonna be able to beat the situation with the FHA loan, like don't even try. But for the DSCR loan, if you wanna like not be living in your living room sort of thing, you know, after a couple of years, do that and see about the seller financing if it does beat the situation with the DSCR loan, keeping in mind that the less upfront means the more later. LLCs, we were just talking about this. LLCs are important. Reason why is because when you are a rental property owner, if something goes haywire, they can personally sue you. And they see what you have, and it's bad. Bad, costs you more. So LLCs are protected for you. CarGurus.com. This is like a good website. You want a car? Something to say? Because eventually everyone's going to want to get a car, that sort of thing. Car Gurus, good place for that. So like for example, I was talking to someone recently. They were like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this like sedan or something like that," and it's like I'm looking at everything. It's like $40,000, and I was like, "That sounds incorrect. That is not right." I looked on Car Gurus, and I was like, 20,000, like easily. I don't even know what she was looking at. So good resources on that. Cost of points. This is interesting. This can also be a little complicated. Be a little complicated because you're looking at like interest rates over time, stuff like that. Mathematics gets involved, but it's something to be aware of. This is again the sort of point that we're talking about. What cost of points is, anyway, what cost of points is you can fluctuate between